Our movie starts with a man and his wife driving in their car towards the Patton farm. Along the way, they see a group of small pigs running around the farm, but suddenly their car stalls in the middle of the road. They look terrified and are confused about what's happening until a massive animal suddenly attacks their car. At this time, we see a farm worker named Ken and his friend Blue. They are known in town for making fun of people and are unaware of the incidents that have happened at the Patton farm. We also meet a happy family consisting of the father, Bruce, his wife, Debbie, their daughter, Ellie, and their son, Bart. They're preparing for a trip to Bart's farm, which is Bruce's brother. Ellie is very excited because her friend Robert will be spending the day with them. We also meet a very beautiful girl named Sasha, who owns the biggest ice cream and food store in town. Ken is her father, and he visits her store, greets her, and mentions that he heard about the incidents at the farm, which is why he needs to stay there all night to figure out what's going on. Before he leaves, he sees Bruce and his family and asks if he knows them. Ken says he's known them since he was a kid and that Bruce used to play with him on the farm. He describes them as good, quiet people. Meanwhile, Bruce's family arrives at Bart's farm, where Bart welcomes them warmly, and is thrilled that they're coming to spend time with him. We also see someone at Patton Farm who suddenly hears strange noises. He quickly goes out to check what's happening but is shocked to see a huge pig eating his dog. Overwhelmed by the shock, he can't move and decides to scream for help, but unfortunately, no one hears him. Suddenly, the pig cuts the electric wires in the farm and injures its leg. It tries to crawl away, but it doesn't get far before the pig attacks and eats him. A day passes since the incident, and we see Blue calling Ken, who tells him he wants to stay overnight at the farm to understand what's going on. Ken decides to stop by his daughter Sasha's store to buy some food and beer. Blue goes to Sasha's store, buys the beer, and learns that she'll be staying with her father at the Patton farm. Meanwhile, Ken begins to hear strange noises at the farm but doesn't see anything. We learn that Patton Farm receives many visitors who come to pass their time, and there's a tent at the farm where a couple is spending their honeymoon. Suddenly, the man decides to go buy water and food, but his wife starts hearing terrifying noises. She thinks he's playing a prank on her until she decides to leave the tent and finds her husband torn apart with his face covered in blood. Suddenly, the pig attacks and eats her. At the same time, Ken and Blue are drinking, but they hear terrifying sounds coming from a distance. Ken decides to check what's going on and takes his rifle with him. They walk until they reach the tent where the couple was killed, and they are shocked to find their bodies brutally mutilated. Ken takes Blue's car to get more ammunition since they are running low. While Blue goes to fetch the ammunition, he hears the pig coming towards him. Blue holds a flashlight and a piece of wood, thinking he can protect himself. But unfortunately, when the pig appears, it attacks and eats him. Meanwhile, we see a girl named Sharon at the farm, sitting with her boyfriend Matthew. He's telling her scary stories about vampires and monsters that come down from trees in the woods and eat people. She tells him she doesn't like scary stories, but Matthew reassures her that these stories are just fiction. Suddenly, they hear a horrifying sound from the farm, and Matthew goes to check the source, taking the flashlight from Sharon. As he turns his back, he sees the pig eating Sharon, and he's so shocked that he can't defend her. The pig leaves her and attacks Matthew, tearing him apart with its teeth until he dies. After that, Ken arrives at the place where Matthew and Sharon died and sees Matthew's body torn apart. Sharon's husband is still alive, so Ken realizes he might be able to save her. She asks about her boyfriend Matthew, and Ken sadly tells her he's dead. Before he leaves, he asks her to stay put until he can kill the pig. At that moment, Ken sees the pig and runs away, managing to escape. He then returns to Sharon to get her out of there before the pig spots him. However, they're shocked when the pig attacks them, and despite Ken's efforts, his attempts fail as the pig proves too strong. Ken ultimately dies. We then return to Bruce's family, who are planning to spend a day at Patton Farm. Bart suggests that Bert take some hunting rifles with him, but Debbie refuses because she's afraid of the sound of guns. However, in the end, Bert has to take a rifle with him. Bert learns that he'll be going to Sasha's store to buy some beer. Meanwhile, Sasha is being harassed by a customer at the store, but Sasha doesn't stay silent about her rights. She stands up to the harasser and defends herself until Bert arrives, grabs the harasser, and throws him out of the store. Bert then enters the store and buys the beer. Sasha tells him that her father disappeared after going to Patton Farm, and his phone is off. Bert reassures her that he'll go to Patton Farm with his family, and will look for her father to find out what happened. Bert returns to his family, and they head to Patton Farm, where they all have a great time swimming and enjoying each other's company. However, Bert then informs them that he needs to go look for Ken at the farm. Debbie suggests that he take her husband with him, but Bert insists on going alone. Bert drives his car down a long road, enjoying the drive with music playing and singing along. Suddenly, the car flips over, and he hits his head, but fortunately, he's still alive. He then starts hearing a terrifying sound from a distance, so he tries to push the car door open with all his strength until it finally opens. He notices animal hair on his car, so he decides to get the rifle and load it with ammunition. Meanwhile, Bruce's family is worried about Bart because they heard the car crash. Debbie asks her husband Bruce to go look for Bart, so Bruce goes with Robert, who seems upset about having to go with him. Bruce and Robert walk a very long path, and during their walk, Bruce talks to Robert about asking for his daughter Ellie's hand in marriage. Bruce seems uncomfortable with Robert because he thinks he's irresponsible. Bruce tells him that marriage is a responsibility and actions, not just sweet words and fun, and expresses his concern that Robert is just playing with his daughter. He also mentions that he knows about Robert's family issues and his daughter's problems. Robert is deeply offended and says that his problems don't affect his character. He continues to express his frustration over Bruce's constant criticisms. Meanwhile, Sasha is complaining to customers about her father's disappearance since he went to Patton Farm. She's very worried because every day she calls him, and his phone is off. A customer named Jack walks in and tells Sasha that her father might have unfortunately died because of the pig at Patton Farm. They all laugh at him and think he's babbling because it's known that pigs can't eat people. Then Jack continues his story, telling them that he saw a giant pig in the farm with his own eyes. To convince them, he starts recounting the story of the couple whose bodies were found dismembered and their car wrecked at the Patton Farm by the police. But unfortunately, no one believes him, and they all mock him. Sasha, however, doesn't believe that a pig could eat people, but at the same time, she's feeling uneasy. So, she decides to go to the farm herself. She leaves the shop and gets in her car. Meanwhile, the pig shows up in front of Bruce and Robert. Bruce is so shocked that he starts laughing, while Robert gets really scared. At this point, Debbie and Ellie decide to go look for Bruce and Robert since they've been gone for too long. But just as they start to move, they see Robert running towards them at full speed, yelling that they need to get out of there. But they can't hear him, and Ellie even thinks he's just joking around. Debbie asks loudly where her husband is, and Robert tells them that he's dead. They're all in shock when they hear what Robert says. Suddenly, the pig appears in front of them, grabs Robert, and runs off with him. Ellie screams, unable to process what she's just witnessed, until Bert shows up and tells them they need to run. They walk through a long path in the farm until they hear the pig coming their way. Suddenly, the pig grabs Bart by the leg and drags him away. Debbie tries to grab her son's hand, but unfortunately she can't save him. As they continue on their way, they spot a small cabin, like a hiding place. They decide to hide there until morning. Once they get inside, Debbie breaks down and starts hitting Bert, blaming him for not saving Bart from the pig, despite his strength and muscles. Bert starts to feel guilty and tries to calm both Debbie and Ellie down. He apologizes and says he was too shocked to react. As midnight approaches, Bert notices that Debbie is shivering from the cold, so he decides to go outside to gather some wood and light a fire to keep them warm. But as soon as he opens the door, he finds the pig right in front of him. This time, Bert isn't afraid. He grabs a knife and starts stabbing the pig in the face repeatedly. Bert then tells Debbie and her daughter that they need to run while he takes care of the pig. Debbie and Ellie manage to escape and look for another place to hide in the farm. Meanwhile, Bert continues stabbing the pig until the pig throws him to the ground. Bert tries to regain his strength before the pig can finish him off. At the same time, Debbie and Ellie gather some wood and start a fire, placing it on sticks to defend themselves if the pig finds them. Afterward, Debbie talks to her daughter, Ellie, who is in complete shock after losing her brother and her boyfriend. Debbie feels regretful for coming to the farm and wishes she could turn back time to change their decision. While they're talking, the pig suddenly appears in front of them. They quickly grab the sticks and try to scare it off with the fire, but it turns out the pig isn't afraid of the flames. The pig grabs Debbie by the leg, but they keep hitting it in the face with the sticks until a car comes and hits the pig hard. It turns out that the person driving the car is Sasha, Ken's daughter, and she's shocked by how huge the pig is. Sasha admits she was wrong to doubt Jack's story. At that moment, the pig starts moving again. Debbie tries to grab the rifle to shoot it, but fear makes her freeze. Finally, she pulls herself together and shoots the pig several times until it dies for good. After that, they all get into the car and start driving away. On the way, they see Bert and Bart and realize they're still alive. Bart tells them that the pig bit him and hid him away to eat him later, but Bert was able to find him and save him. Ellie and Debbie are overjoyed that they're still alive, and everyone is happy that Sasha helped them get rid of the pig. At the end of the movie, a new giant creature appears in the forest, and that's how our movie ends today. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did,